It's time for the Rider Dynasty podcast. Let's go! Welcome to the Rider Dynasty podcast with Ryan Bickerstaff, JJ Wenner, and your host, Michael Kloss.
Yes! Oh, that intro still gets me hyped for the Rider Dynasty podcast. I am your host, Michael Kloss, and joining me today, the same guys that always join me, but I am extremely lucky to have them. JJ Wenner, how you doing?
I am doing dandy.
Fine and dandy. And hopefully, Ryan, you're feeling the same way?
Oh, I'm great. I am several beers in tonight, and I'm ready to do this.
Dude, you are hype right now. I love it. It's actually kind of, I don't want to say a sad show whatsoever, but we've been so happy to do these division previews. We are coming to an end. This is our final division preview. Last episode we knocked out the AFC North, and Ryan, who are we finishing up with today?
We're finishing up with the AFC East, the home of JJ's New York Jets.
It's going to be the same setup as before. We're going to take a look under the hood of each AFC East team, and then we'll discuss all the fantasy relevant players, and each of us will highlight one rising star, one fading star, and one sleeper.
Get all the bugs out
Yikes.
now. Just flex, knock the rust off. Woo, here we go. It is extremely important that you know that we are on Twitter. Please find us. We're at Rider Dynasty. You can hit up our website, rideordynasty.com. Please interact with us and give us a follow if you like our content. So we always like to start off these division previews by taking kind of a quick poll of who do we have winning the division and who's coming short. Guys, we have the exact same answers here. Is that the first time?
Yes.
I think this is a first.
As JJ says, just depressed. Well, JJ, why don't you just go ahead and lay it down?
Our
for
division
us.
champ is the goddamn Patriots. and coming in last place is the Miami Dolphins.
Hashtag tank for Tua.
I was looking at the division stats, and with the exception of 2008, the Patriots have won this division all the way back to 2003.
Wait, was 2008 the year Tom Brady tore his ACL? And Matt Castle was the Patriots quarterback?
Matt Castle jumped back in? That sounds familiar. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it is because they were 11-5, and Matt Castle was 11-5, and they didn't. They lost a wild card round or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I remember being
Patriots are good.
Yeah, I remember being in a fantasy league that year, and the guy in that league, he took Tom Brady at the 101 spot, and Brady tore his ACL week 1. It was pretty brutal. He did not do well that year, I remember.
So we're going to get to the Patriots in just a little bit. We all have the Miami Dolphins finishing in last place, but there are still some good fantasy-relevant players that we're excited to talk about. We will be starting with the Buffalo Bills. As we mentioned and JJ said, we're picking one rising or shining star, one fading, and one sleeper. It's interesting to look at, the quarterback situation this year with Josh Allen. He just gets pegged as that running quarterback, and he really, really did it well. He's my rising star. I think that he has that same Lamar Jackson feel, but They turned him loose. You know, the offensive coordinator of Buffalo last year really started doing some more play action plays and just would boot him out and just let him make plays with his feet. You know, coming out of Wyoming, a lot of people looked at his arm as being extremely strong. As we continue to talk about some of these players, I'm very excited about the way Josh Allen was going because I had him on my radar as one of the good quarterbacks coming out. There were obviously a lot of other, you know, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, but Josh Allen can be a fantasy stud for you this year if you have him. And I see him going a little bit earlier than what I normally see just because of the rushing ability there. What do you guys think about our man Josh Allen here, Ryan?
You know, I'm still a little skeptical on Josh Allen. He's not very accurate. So he can run the ball all day, but he dealt with some injuries last year, and he didn't complete a large percentage of his passes. It was in the 50s, which goes back to his college days. And I know that was one of the knocks against him coming out of Wyoming. You know, I think that he can be an all-right fantasy quarterback for a few years, but something about him just feels Blake Bortles-esque to me. And I'm a little skeptical on Allen. JJ?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Here's the difference between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson had running plays called for him, which were successful. Josh Allen would drop back, and at the first sign of pressure, he would run like a scared rabbit. Yeah, he's really athletic, but those weren't called runs. And every time he did that, he wasn't seeing the second option. He wasn't going through his reads. He was just taking off. I think as his weapons get better, he's going to run less because he'll have more people open. But he is completely inaccurate with the ball. So, I don't know. I just can't see him being a consistent NFL starter.
I will add that in my opinion, fantasy points don't discriminate, and I will take all of those fantasy points, even if he does take off on the ground. Moving on to our running backs, it's an interesting kind of position because it seems like it's quite easy to fade LeSean McCoy here, which both of you are doing. Ryan, can you tell me why?
Yeah, LeSean McCoy, I predicted a down year for him last year, and I just didn't think it was going to be that far down for him. He had 3.2 yards per carry on 161 carries, I want to say. I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but LeSean McCoy was not very good last year. He's not the running back he used to be, and suddenly he finds himself in a very crowded backfield that has Frank Gore, TJ Yeldon, and rookie out of Florida Atlantic, Devin Singletary. I think McCoy might still have something left in the tank to an extent. He might have a good game here and there, but his days as a star in the NFL are over, and likewise are his days as a fantasy football option. I think
Yeah,
this
absolutely,
backfield,
Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, LeSean McCoy, like you said, you mentioned Gore, Singletary, and Yeldon in the crowded backfield. Let's not also forget that they have Patrick DeMarco as their fullback, and they have Marcus Murphy as a running back there, who is their primary returner. So unless they're going to keep 6 running backs, I don't see McCoy making this roster. Unless you're going to see somebody like Yeldon cut, but I don't see that happening. Frank Gore is in much better shape. He's always been a better student of the game than LeSean McCoy. And I think he's a better running back at this point than McCoy. So, he had a great career, like Ryan said, but get out while the getting is good.
I kind of like Devin Singletary. I think that if McCoy does not last, Gore very, very well might take over. It's just there's so much in the air that why not give the rookie some reps, right? While it might be crowded, you give him a chance. I think that he actually has the best chance to come out of all of those backs if they start falling because of age or injury or anything. He landed in a good spot despite the crowded nature of this backfield, that you want to be able to see what this rookie can do. And he had, very good college stats. So I'm on board with Devin Singletary. I would probably would have faded him in an instance that if he went to a different team, but on the Bills, there's quite the opportunity there. And sometimes that's half the time with fantasy, right? Is just a mix of talent and opportunity, and opportunity might reign supreme in this instance.
And let's not forget that Frank Gore is a little bit more than 3,500 yards behind Emmitt Smith. So I think, give him another 7-8 years, he's going to be the all-time leading rusher.
And he came out, actually, about a week ago and was just like, I feel the best that I've ever felt. When I'm ready to hang it up, I'll let you know. But I'm sick and tired of all of the – I'm paraphrasing here. He didn't say that. But he thinks it's interesting when everybody keeps bringing up age. It's like, I'm going to hang it up when I'm ready. So expect for prognosticators and bloggers and even podcasters like us here to keep bringing that name up until he decides to call it quits.
Absolutely. And the one thing I have to say about Gore is he brings a passion to the game. His rookie year on the 49ers, he was in the locker room after a loss, and everybody was joking around and laughing. And he screamed at them because it was so wrong to him to be celebrating a loss in the way that they were. And, you don't see a lot of rookies who have the guts to stand up in a locker room and do that. And that's the exact same passion he has brought to every season of his career, to every carry, to every team. I think he is going to be a great inspiration and a great teacher for Singletary. But yeah, I just wanted to say that about Frank Gore. I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah, me too. That's why Frank Gore is one of the all-time greats. He's just the consummate pro. He's a class act. There will never be another one like him.
So why don't we move to the wide receivers?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. There doesn't seem to be any really big names on this depth chart.
What?
Did I hurt your feelings about John Brown?
If we're gonna go there,
we are going there.
Still John Brown kick. All right, go on.
I am on the John Brown kick. I don't even know what podcast it was, but it was one of our first. I don't know if he can still be considered a sleeper because he is getting buzz, but maybe it's just my ears are really good, and I'm the only one hearing it's the buzz about him. So last year for the Ravens, weeks 1 through 9 with Flacco as the QB, he averaged 13.2 points per game. He had 67 targets, 34 receptions, 601 yards, and 4 TDs in 9 games. He was the wide receiver 22 when Lamar Jackson took over. Now, Lamar Jackson and him just didn't click. Didn't work out for the two of them.
No, it did not. The only receiver.
But John Brown can go get the deep ball. And guess what the one thing Josh Allen can throw? What can he throw? Tell me. Michael, he's your rising star. Can he throw a touch pass to the outside? Nope. Can he throw a wide receiver screen? No. Can he throw a dump pass to a running back? Nope. What can he throw, Michael?
Why didn't you let me answer any of those things? I would have happily said no. But he can throw the deep ball.
There you go. And who's going to catch it? Smokey Brown.
I think Robert Foster is actually going to catch him. But go on, finish your thought.
Right now, John Brown is wide receiver 64 off the board. All right?
That's a little
And you're
low.
right. Robert Foster is 73. You
That's
can
a
get these
little low.
guys late in a best ball draft. And just, whoever catches the 2 deep balls a game, is going to get the points for you that time. But, I'm going to let you talk about Robert Foster a little bit more than me. But I like Robert Foster. I know he doesn't have the draft capital, but I'm excited to see what he can do this year. He actually is my rising star.
Oh, yeah, he's my rising star, too. I actually just drafted Robert Foster pretty recently in the startup. I think that he's going to be the number 1 receiver in Buffalo for what that's worth. In 7 games last year, so the final 7 weeks of the season, Robert Foster had 511 yards and 3 touchdowns on 25 receptions. So that's an average of 20.4 yards per reception. So you want to talk about a guy that can go get the deep ball? Robert Foster. He was the only receiver in Buffalo that really showed some chemistry with Josh Allen, who I am not very high on, but as long as you have a guy like Foster who, you can chuck the ball up and, he'll run and go get it, I see a high fantasy ceiling for Robert Foster. And the fact I was able to get him in like the 24th, 25th round, that's pretty crazy. That's just value at that point. And
yeah, that's an absolute steal at that point.
yeah.
Michael, I see that you're pretty high on one of the wide receivers.
I am actually low on Cole Beasley. And sorry, Cole. I would rather have Zay Jones, I think, at that point. I would rather have Foster. I'd rather have John Brown for all that those comments that you threw out there.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley just seems like the forgotten man. He's just not necessary in this offense. I know his numbers with Dak Prescott, and that he actually again put up 672 yards last year with Dallas. What I don't like about him is, as I say, unnecessary, is there are just other wide receivers that will occupy what he does, and I'm also anticipating running backs to take the short, and even if you want to give Beasley an intermediate, I don't want him anywhere. I am very, very much hands-off on Cole Beasley. I don't think that he makes much of a difference whatsoever. So I'm staying away.
Yeah, and other than those, the guys we already talked about, I think Zay Jones could have a decent year. He performed well last year. Hopefully he built a little bit more chemistry with Josh Allen. And the only other guy there is Andre Roberts, who was okay with the Jets last year in that complete dumpster fire of a team. So, but I don't see this team supporting anything more than maybe 2 wide receivers.
That's being generous.
So let's move on to let's move on to the tight ends and keep it moving. You've got Tyler Croft at the tight end position. You've got Dawson Knox, Lee Smith, Tommy Sweeney. Anybody out in that group that is or needs to be on our listeners' teams?
Yeah, I'm actually a really big fan of Dawson Knox, a rookie out of Ole Miss. He kind of reminds me a little bit of George Kittle. He's about the same size as Kittle. If you look at their draft profiles, they test out similarly, and they're graded out similarly too. I see Knox as one of those guys that was really just underused in college, which is so common of tight ends, which is why tight end is such a difficult position to scout out. But Knox, I never want to bet on a rookie tight end, but he's a good blocker, so I think he's going to see a lot of playtime this year. But I'm looking at Knox as a future pick. And if he can even be 75% of the player that George Kittle is, sign me up. I want this guy. like 75% of George Kittle, that's like you're looking at like a 900-yard upside type of tight end prospect here. I think that Knox is a good fit for this offense. I think that he and Josh Allen can work well together, and after a year or maybe two to get adjusted to the league, I think you have a really solid tight end in Buffalo.
Hey, I don't know if anybody else is having headset issues, but I could have sworn. Did you just say something about Dawson Knox having 900 yards?
I'm not saying as a rookie, but I'm saying at some point in his career, yeah, I can see that he's
Total?
that athletic.
Like
yeah,
a career
no,
total of 900?
No. I mean like 900.
He's making a take, JJ. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, I mean like 900 in the season. Dawson Knox is crazy athletic. He is really off the charts athletic, especially for a big guy. He's like 6'4", close to 260. He's a big guy, and he's really athletic. He has good hands too, and I think that he has a bright future in the NFL.
All right.
Ryan, do you see when Tyler Croft comes back from his broken foot, is that too little too late? Because he broke it in mid-May, and they said about a 3 to 4 month recovery, which again would put him in time for the season. Does he miss too much time yet, or do you think that he can recover and kind of get back on the depth chart, or do you see as Dawson Knox just jumping on that opportunity in training camp and then keeping it there? What do you think?
I want to say that Dawson Knox is going to do that. I don't really see it that much in year one. Croft, I can kind of count on Croft a little bit to get hurt, though. That's the thing. Especially if Croft does get hurt again, Dawson Knox is going to be the primary tight end in Buffalo. And, I think that the future is Knox. Maybe this year will be Croft, but I think Knox overtakes him in 2020 for sure, if that's the case.
Well, it is a hard knocks life.
I'm looking forward.
So if you could just give us a rundown of your riser, fader, and sleeper.
All right, Robert Foster is my rising star. LeSean McCoy is fading, and Dawson Knox is my sleeper.
900 yards. My God. Somebody hit you in the head. My riser is Robert Foster. My fading star is LeSean McCoy. And my sleeper is John Smokey Brown.
Good thing we have the receipts, so we can either rub that in your face, Ryan, or we can bow down if something does happen this year or next year. I am rising on Josh Allen. I faded Cole Beasley, and I think that you should watch out for Devin Singletary if he gets a shot. Moving on, we're looking at the Miami Dolphins, like we had mentioned before, predicting that they're probably going to have some tough luck in this division. It kind of starts at the quarterback position, JJ. It's Fitzpatrick and Rosen there for the time being. What are you looking at for those quarterbacks?
Unless the Dolphins want to give Josh Rosen a mental timeout after the debacle that was his rookie season, there is no reason to start Ryan Fitzpatrick. As a Jets fan, I know what it is to love what Fitzpatrick can do. All the Jets fans loved him after his season with the Jets. His first season, I should say. And I remember my son and I hated him because all he did was lose games for us. Over and over. Just like he did on the Bucs last year. Yes, he'll throw for some big games. He's funny. He dresses up like Colin McGregor or Conor McGregor or whatever that guy's name is. But he loses games. And he does this thing where he moves his mouth like a goldfish eating. So all he would do is with his big stupid beard and his weirdly...
What?
Trust me. It got under my skin so badly as a Jet. And he just takes his mouth and he opens it like a goldfish eating at the top of your tank. I can't stand Ryan Fitzpatrick. There's no reason to start him. Like, let Rosen start. At least then you know whether or not you have to take Tua.
Yeah, I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's my favorite backup quarterback of all time. But I have to agree, if you're Miami, there's no reason to start Fitzpatrick. You traded for you traded for Josh Rosen. It could have been Andy Isabella as Arizona turned that pick into, and Miami's wide receiver situation isn't great. But yeah, if you're Miami, you want to see what you have in Josh Rosen first. You don't want to if you're starting Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're kind of in crisis mode.
There is a good reason to start Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that is because he is on my best ball team. I would love to see 2, 3 good starts out of him. That's about all I can think. Call me crisis mode then. I'm changing my team name.
That's actually a pretty good team name.
I like that.
Yeah, I was kind of impressed with myself there. Not really. The running back position I called for a long time ago because I'm fairly high on Kenyon Drake. I think that he's got top 15 potential. Yes, I said top 15, 1-5 potential. I would say that you all agree with me, starting with JJ. What do you think about Kenyon Drake?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not the biggest fan, but all I keep hearing is that Gase was holding him back from his full potential. Gase is gone, so let's see what he can do. I have him getting about 200 carries, about 1,200 yards overall, with about 10 TDs. So I see him having a decent season.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake is going to be good this year. If you have him around 200 carries, he had a 4.5 yard per carry average last year. So if you have him at 200 carries, that's 900 rushing yards? That's not bad. That's not bad at all. See, the thing about Kenyon Drake is he was the kind of backup to Frank Gore last year, and he still finished as the number 14 running back in PPR leagues. He was 21st in standard. But if you want to talk about Kenyon Drake as a top 15 running back, he's already there in PPR. And he's not going to take a step down from that this year. He's going to be the guy there. Kalen Ballage, that's another player I want to talk a little bit about. He's my sleeper. But I think Kenyon Drake is going to see the lion's share of the touches in Miami. And as far as fantasy relevant players, he's the only one that I'm really loving on that team. They really are my pick of team to finish worst in the NFL. I just don't see the direction that they're going in. They are my legitimate hashtag tank for Tua candidate. And
well, it's not like they're not going to score any points every game,
right?
Know? Like that again. We can still like good players on bad teams.
Exactly, and I think Kenyon Drake is going to be that.
Mm-hmm. Just to kind of again continue on what you were saying about the PPR rank. He didn't top 17 touches in any game, averaged 11 touches a game, and still finished in that position. The 4 games that he did see 15 or more touches, he was averaging, 13.2 PPR points. So, again, sorry to repeat, but I think it does bear understanding with Kenyon Drake that he can be a solid fantasy producer when he wasn't getting all those touches. I'm excited to see what he could do with a coach that will give him the ball a little bit more. Looking down that depth chart, you mentioned Kalen Ballage, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Myles Gaskin is another interesting name to bat around. Do either of you have any insight on Myles Gaskin, or should we move to wide receiver?
Move to wide receiver.
Yeah, move the wide receiver. I don't think Gaskin's going to be the answer in the NFL.
maybe give him a year or two. We can still see what he produces if he gets any opportunity.
That's fair.
The wide receivers. Oh man, I'm not going to get tricked by Devante Parker again. Every year I feel like the summer hype gets out of control, and every year even if I don't own the player, I look at him and just look back and wonder how he got caught in that. Again, injury, he's not producing. Maybe he can be a number one with one of the quarterbacks that we mentioned in Fitzpatrick and Rosen. I'm fading him. I'm absolutely done with him. And if you are not done with him, you are a better Dynasty player than I, because I cannot deal with this roller coaster of Devante Parker, and I'm just not going to anymore. So that's my take on him. I'm completely giving up, and I hope you don't blame me for it.
Who can blame you for it? But I think this is his year. I think this is it.
So now I'm excited all over again, okay?
Wait.
You just heard me say I'm not doing it, and then you're just like, hey, do you want some Devante Parker? And I'm like,
Come
yeah.
on, man. Everybody's trying it.
If this is his year, I think this is his year to retire. Perhaps I'm just not seeing it.
Just keep pulling me back in. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna say no.
I didn't
no.
like Devante Parker coming out of college. I thought he was kind
to keep people off Devante.
Honestly, I thought he was kind of a dumb first round pick. I just didn't see it. He was a talented. He's physically speaking, athletically speaking, he's good, but I just didn't see him as an NFL caliber football player, especially a wide receiver one. He was just a bad pick by the Dolphins. He's one of many.
Well, that's a strong stance to take. My sleeper, I was going to go with Preston Williams, but I can't go with him because of his off-field issues. So my sleeper for this team is Albert Wilson. You got to go with Burt. Through the first 7 games before he got hurt last year, he was the wide receiver 25. He averaged 5 targets, 3.7 receptions, 56 yards, and 0.6 TDs. Right now, he's going off the board as wide receiver 80.
Steal.
Which is 190.2 overall. I have him finishing as a wide receiver 3 and as the leading receiver on the Dolphins. So if you can pick him up, anywhere before that 80 range, like Ryan said, it's going to be an absolute steal. Do we have anybody else in that wide receiver room?
No, not really. In fact, I'm actually fading Kenny Stills because even though he's only 27, he theoretically should be in the prime of his career, yet last year he was bad. He just was not good. And the quarterback situation this year is not that much better, and I'm just not seeing it out of Stills anymore. I was pretty high on him last year. He was a top 36 receiver for me, and he just didn't live up to that. And maybe I'm fading him a little hard here, but I'm not even targeting him anymore because I don't like the situation he's in, and I think that he's kind of fading off.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Otherwise, in that wide receiver room, we have Bryce Butler, Isaiah Ford. Jakeem Grant is somebody who I do like, that speedy
Me
wide
too.
receiver.
He's interesting.
Me too, yeah.
He's very interesting.
But outside of a best ball, there's no way I would draft him.
No.
And then Preston Williams as a rookie.
Who actually might end up before Lon being the wide receiver 1 on that team. Just saying he has
After
the
Devante
talent.
You think
Parker.
so?
He has the talent. He's a knucklehead off the field, but he has the talent.
Well, unfortunately, it's that knuckleheadedness that usually keeps people from realizing their talent.
Absolutely.
What about the tight end position? Somebody is a fan of a Penn State tight end.
I like everything about him. Coming out of college, the Dolphins took him with that 42nd pick. And it's just like his frame, 6'6", 245. But the Dolphins couldn't do anything with him. But you're looking at a guy that only caught 22 balls, right? But he just has the framework. If they can, I see talent there, right? And I don't know how you can't see talent there. It's just he was so misused, and because of that, he was drafted highly, right, in dynasty leagues last year. Mm-hmm. Nobody cut bait, right? Not a single person cut bait. If you took him, you kept him or you traded him. And I said, as a sleeper on a wide receiver core that I'm just not really super impressed with anyone, this could be a big year for Gesicki if he could just mesh with a quarterback, or if he gets, if they do the correct play calls, or if they find him and create mismatches with the defense. There's no reason why he can't be a breakout in 2019 or, just in the future,
Yeah, I think he might be the classic high performer when it comes to the combine who doesn't quite pan out. The classic looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane.
Well, he can't block either. Supposedly, he got horrible blocking grades, and that was a knock coming out of college too. So if you're looking, again, just to try to get on the field and you can't do half your job, I'm not saying that that's the play call. I don't know, but it's still a tough knock. But he's the only threat I see on that depth chart, and he's going to get a lot of snaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hope you're right.
Not loving Dwayne
I
Allen.
recently drafted Mike Gesicki in one of my startups, so I'm really hoping you're right here.
Unfortunately, he's not. Ryan, do you want to give us a recap of your selections?
I almost feel defeated talking about it. I don't own him anywhere. I just think that he can be good.
Yes, I will. Kenyon Drake is the rising star. Kenny Stills is fading, and Kalen Ballage is a sleeper.
My rising star is also Kenyon Drake. I'm fading Ryan Fitzmagic, and my sleeper is Albert Wilson.
Rising on Kenyon Drake, he who shall not be named, Devante Parker, is fading, and Mike Gesicki is our sleeper. So, come to that point in the show, all you Boston fans, all you Massachusetts fans, talking about the Patriots, and again, they get a bad rap just because they keep winning, but they're a lot of fantasy relevant players. It starts with Tom Brady. Is there a reason to think that Tom Brady at his age is losing a step? I know we're a dynasty podcast here, but he says he wants to play until he's 45. And with his regimen, he very well could, JJ.
This is dangerous territory for me.
You be careful, okay? You be nice. We have a lot of Patriot fan listeners. You be nice.
So, Tom Brady is a very good quarterback and has performed very well in the clutch for years. He is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, if not the best quarterback of all time. But as far as being a top 10 fantasy relevant QB, those days are over. I know he's running faster than he's ever run in his life, which happens a lot when you're 42 years old. But they're running the ball more now. They're better on defense, and he's going to miss Gronk. So he's not going to be a top 10 QB. I'm sorry. I don't hate the Patriots because I'm a Jets fan. I hate the Patriots because they're a cheating, horrible team. Oh, no! Oh, I said it.
You tried so
All right,
hard.
I'm hitting the mute button for the next 2 minutes. I'm taking a timeout.
Could you imagine anything more irritating than an Alabama/Patriots fan?
No, I couldn't. And JJ's muted, so don't expect any answer. Don't expect any answer from him. Let's try to keep this show afloat here. With the running back situation. Every single year, we have the exact same conversation. There is a stable. Belichick uses who he wants, when he wants. Personally, I feel like this year is one of the clearest years that we've had.
Really?
Maybe that's just a reference to some of the past years and having some issue. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like every single running back has a little bit of a role. After getting a chance to watch Sony Michel in the playoffs, it seems pretty. To me, it seems pretty obvious that he's going to be a first and second down runner when he's healthy. It seems like James White is going to carve out a third down role, but I also am pretty high on James White. So, do you have any? You think it's kind of a little bit of a mess, and tell me why. Do you have anything specific of why? Then I can follow up with maybe a little bit of James White love.
Yeah, New England's backfield is a little bit of a Charlie Foxtrot for me. Last year actually was the most clear year for me. I thought that James White and Sony Michel were going to be the two guys in that backfield in 2018. And now with the addition of Damian Harris and what Rex Burkhead looks healthy, this backfield looks muddy suddenly. If there's any injury at all to Sony Michel, Damian Harris takes over as the lead back in New England. And
I'm with you so far.
And, but assuming all four are healthy, what you're going to have is that like Russian roulette kind of, all right, which Patriots back is going to be featured this week?
Did he just say rushing roulette? Sorry, I unmuted.
I hope. I hope you did.
I missed an opportunity there.
No. You got to claim that.
Man, I thought that was good.
Yeah. I mean, that was. I mean, like
I'm going back on.
I love dad jokes.
Yeah, you can
Patriots
edit.
are cheaters. Mute.
Yeah, you can edit that one out if you want. If you want to make me sound
No,
better.
edit it in. Edit it in.
Anyway, but yeah, New England's backfield, it just looks muddy for me, and I'm completely avoiding it. As much as I love Damian Harris being a Bama guy, I'm avoiding the Patriots backfield completely in 2019.
Okay. I personally think James White is too important to this team, right? That's not just for fill in when you have injury. Again, Brady's arm strength is not where it used to be. I'm looking at James White still to possibly lead the team in receptions this year. Edelman will obviously challenge for that. A lot of people are very high on Nikhil Harry. I know that there's kind of an interesting stat about James White and why he finished in the top 10. Obviously, he was healthy. In weeks 12 to 17, it's actually weeks 12 to 17, which was after the bye week. Both Rex and Sony were okay. James White was the RB 28 in points per game, and you saw his snap count decline from about 50% all the way finally down to the high 30s. Now, keep in mind, like I said, it's important to look at James White, again, as his importance on the team. And when I say a third down role, that seems like a little bit of a cop-out to me. He can play at any down whatsoever. Of course, you have Sony Michel. I only think Damian Harris cuts into the Sony Michel role, and White still has a carved-out role, whatever that is, whatever down that is. I continue to harp, and I probably just need to get off my soapbox on James White. I'm not taking him as a top 10 running back, of course, but he is still an important flex player to me anywhere, and I will gladly take him when I can. So, might be a mess. I don't think it's silly to draft James White where he's going, and I still would. Probably 100% of the time. Rex Burkhead, forget about it. Okay? I'm excited about Damian Harris. I love Sony Michel. I don't know what the deal is with his knee, but I do, and I am high on James White, and will continue to be.
One of the best things you can do as a fantasy player, though, is to watch the trends. Everyone right now is fading Sony Michel, so now's the time to grab him for cheap.
Yeah, sure.
As long as he is my sleeper, and I'm surprised that he even can be classified as a sleeper considering his performance last year. But as long as he remains healthy, but any game that he plays in, he's going to see the bulk of the carries while James White gets the receiving work.
He's going to eat at the goal line, too, this year.
And the Patriots are one of the best rushing teams in the league. So, yeah, you might have to take a chance on who's going to be healthy, but as long as you get the guy who's going to be getting the bulk of the carries that week, you're in a very good position. And I think because that it's so clear-cut with the injuries right now, it's going to be easy to see who the person is going to be on a week-to-week basis.
So let's move on to the wide receivers that I mentioned, Nikhil Harry, coming out of Arizona State. Who wants to take that over? Ryan?
Sure. Nikhil Harry, he's a physically imposing 6'4", 225-pound freak athlete. And he's a good football player to boot. And I think that he's going to step in and immediately become like a go-to weapon for Tom Brady in New England. I think, of course, Julian Edelman is the top guy there, but as a rookie, I love what Nikhil Harry can bring to this team. And he might not have a 1,000-yard season, but I can definitely see him having 800 to 900 yards and something in the realm of 7 to 8 touchdowns. I could see him being that type of player year one, and the sky's the limit for Harry. He's a very, very talented. He's only 21 years old too. That's the thing. He's young. He's talented. He's going to be a very good player for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nikhil Harry is definitely going to be one of the rare rookie wide receivers that does well on the Patriots. I think that in order to be a good wide receiver on that team, you really have to have a mind meld with Brady and Belichick. They all have this one, they're all on the same page, probably because of the videotaping. But I think Nikhil Harry is going to be able to get on that page. And I think Ryan's right. He might be able to put up at least a Dawson Knox level season of 900 yards. But I mean, I know that's high praise.
That's high praise. I get the Nicolas Cage reference.
That's high praise.
Or the SNL Nicolas Cage reference. We're always at our best when we just completely go off the rails.
So tight ends. Anybody?
Well, hold on.
What?
Hold on,
What?
my friend. I still want to make sure that we mention Julian Edelman.
Yeah.
I think that he's still probably going to play for the next 2-3 years, at least be Tom Brady's go-to guy. Has not had 2015? I think he was injury shortened when he only had 61 receptions, but or was that 2017 that he was out? Yeah, 2017. Still recovering. Had a very good season last year of 74 catches for 850 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's going to need to be a little bit of a stir that or the straw that serves the drink, if you will. I like Harry. I think it's going to have some time to kind of get him going. But again, we'll see. Julian Edelman is a stalwart.
Yeah, and there's a couple of flyers that you can take on a second-year player, Braxton Berrios, and a rookie, Jacoby Myers, who sounds like a law firm. Jacoby Myers is a QB turned wide receiver, which tends to do well, much like Edelman was. I think he might do well on that team. And, of course, if Demaryius Thomas can get healthy, he would be a great weapon.
Berrios was a sexy pick last year. I remember a lot of people jumping all over it. So his time might be here. I'm not a huge fan of Philip Dorsett.
Yeah, and leave it to the Patriots to, turn Demaryius Thomas back into a, like a fantasy relevant type of receiver again too.
I don't know if that's going to happen,
No.
depending on Thomas's injury. I don't have high hopes, but again, it's the Patriots,
Exactly.
and I think that I know it's a cop out to say anything is possible.
It's like the Patriots are like the upside down world of the NFL. Like on paper they don't look great, but they end up winning the Super Bowl anyway.
There you have it.
Yeah.
So in the tight end
They've
room,
done
I
it.
know Ben Watson's going to miss a couple games and might be good when he comes back to the team.
It's back where it started.
But Matt Lacoste, Steven Anderson, is there anything on that team besides Watson to be excited about?
Again, Lacoste could be an interesting prospect. He's big and versatile. I think Tom Brady could use him. He has a short window to prove himself. When Ben Watson comes back from his suspension, I think that he'll immediately kind of get in the game flow. I don't know that he's going to be absolutely fantasy relevant, but it all depends what's going to happen in those first couple of games for Lacoste. If he just is a no-show or he does something to anger Bill, you know how that can go. He has to prove himself in some way, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be touchdowns or receiving yards, right? He's got to play sound football and show something in those in the early season.
Yeah, and the thing to remember, I know a lot of people are pushing to sign whoever the tight end that the Patriots sign, thinking that they're going to be the Gronk replacement. The Patriots are the best coached team in the league. That's why they win year after year. Bill Belichick is a genius. If Gronk leaves the team, he's not going to try to wedge somebody into that position. He'll just find a different way to go about attacking a defense.
Right.
Yeah, and I think
he used Gronk because of his size and mismatch opportunities.
Right.
Yes.
So don't go for the lazy analysis of saying, I'm taking the Gronk replacement. Look at all the weapons that he's going to be able to deploy and know that he's going to deploy them in the right way. And as long as Brady's on 2 feet, they're going to be the favorite to win the goddamn Super Bowl again.
unfortunately. Yeah, I'm actually looking at Harry to be the replacement for Gronk as early as this year.
Or is he the replacement for Josh Gordon?
No, he's just the replacement for that go-to receiver. He's big, he's fast, he's physical, he's everything you want in that go-to kind of target. And yeah, I think Nikhil Harry, he landed on a great team to at least begin his career. He's going to be very good.
Yep.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Patriots continue to draft well. Right.
All right, so
Go ahead,
quick
Ryan.
recap. Rising star, Nikhil Harry. Fading star, I don't have a fading star on the Patriots. I can't think of a fantasy relevant player that's kind of on his way out. And my sleeper, I don't have a sleeper either. I think that New England is what it is. They're an unpredictable offense, and they win Super Bowls, but not fantasy Super Bowls.
Well, it's good that you didn't do 66% of your job on this team. My rising star is Nikhil Harry. My fading star is Tom Brady. And my sleeper is Sony Michel.
Yeah, way to go, Ryan. I'm rising on James White. Love me some James White. I am fading Rex Burkhead because you should. And Matt Lacoste, as JJ put it, he's not your Gronk replacement, but we might see something out of him. So finally, JJ, why don't you just take it from here?
All right. So if there's one thing I hate more than the goddamn Patriots, it's the goddamn Jets. I love my Jets, but gosh, do they hurt me. Looking at the Jets this year, I think that they're definitely pointed in the right direction. They brought in a great GM, which I was surprised at because I hated Adam Gase. I think that hire was horrible. Greg with the extra G. Williams is a complete douche nozzle. So
you're going after it today, man.
I've never been more disappointed in off-season hires than I was this year. I was actually crushed when they hired Gase. I just don't, and I hope I'm wrong. And I know I've just been beaten up as a Jets fan, but when they when they signed their GM, I was very, very impressed. I think that's a move in the right direction. I think he can get Gase on the right page. And I think because he was given a 5-year contract, he has the power to fire Gase if Gase isn't working out. The most important position now is Sam Darnold, who is my rising star on the team. He had a rough start to the season last year, but they had 0 weapons outside of Robbie Anderson. He improved consistently game by game down the stretch. In the offseason, they added a lot of solid pieces on the defense. On offense, they added Le'Veon Bell and Trevon Wesco. Then they added Kalichi Osemele and Chuma Edoga on the offensive line. I think they're going to do everything they can to build the team around Sam Darnold, and I think he is the QB1 we've been waiting for.
I have to agree. Sam Darnold's going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL for a long time. The thing is he's still so young. He's only 22 years old. And he's pretty much the total package you want in a quarterback. He has a strong arm. He can throw with accuracy. He's mobile enough. He's smart. I think that Adam Gase, for Adam Gase, rather, Sam Darnold's going to be everything that Ryan Tannehill couldn't be. And I'm giving Darnold an outside shot to finish as a QB1 this year. And when I say QB1, I mean he's going to finish as like the QB12, but I don't think that it's outside the realm of possibility that Darnold could finish as a QB1 in a 12-team fantasy league this year. And he can only get better from here too. I think that the sky's the limit for Sam Darnold. The Jets got themselves a great future quarterback, and I'm excited just to see how his story unfolds in the future.
Now, Michael, you are rising on Le'Veon Bell. Tell me why.
Yeah, I mean, again, I know and watched Le'Veon Bell, like you said, in a previous podcast that we just had with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and talking about him and bringing that up is that the effort was to kind of run him into the ground. He has the fresh legs, but he also, deserved that moniker. I don't know. He deserved that playing time. I think just to legitimize the Jets' running game here, he is obviously so patient and just has that dual threat ability. I'm extremely excited to watch Le'Veon. I have heard reports that he's gained a little bit of weight, that he loses a little bit of weight. He'll be ready by the season start with a brand new contract, and excited to prove himself again, And as long as Adam Gase doesn't continue to give me those crazy eyes, I think that he's going to be pretty smart to deploy Bell as often as possible and then make and help Darnold with that transition, to possibly elite, just with a weapon in the backfield. So I see good things for Le'Veon Bell. Again, he's fresh. He has his contract. He bet on himself. I'm excited.
All right, and then backing him up, we have Elijah McGuire. None of us really mentioned him. He had an okay year. I thought he would do a little bit better, but, just a little bit meh on a pretty bad offense. Now, I see that, Ryan, you're fading Bilal Powell, and Michael...
Blah, blah!
And Michael, you're fading Ty Montgomery. Those are really brave choices, gentlemen.
Well, thank you.
The Jets are a young team. They're trending up. It's hard to find a fading star on this offense, at least.
And yet you both found one.
I had a 5-paragraph essay prepared on Ty Montgomery, and now I'm not going to read it out of spite.
Yeah, and I wanted to do more than 66% of my job on this team.
Well, we appreciate the effort. That's Ryan, always giving it 66%.
Thanks for coming to work and not getting paid anyways.
All right, so moving to the wide receivers. I first want to pour one out for my fading star, Quincy Enunwa. He is one of my favorite all-time Jets. 6'2", 225, tough as hell from Nebraska. Great with the ball in his hands. Always see him lowering his shoulder, running over DBs, but injuries have hurt him, and he's only played one full season, which was 2016, his breakout year. He has a low catch percentage, a low TD percentage, and I love him. But unfortunately, I'm not buying him at all in any draft. I hope he proves me wrong, but I just can't see investing a pick on Quincy Enunwa. Now, my sleeper on this team is Robbie, the real deal, Anderson. I love Robbie Anderson.
Hell yeah.
Just watch him play. I'll let somebody else talk about him if they want, because I am such a fan of his. He reminds me of Snoop Dogg, just that he's so thin and wiry. But he's the real deal, man. He'll go up and fight for the ball. He has awesome body control. And down the stretch, he and Darnold finally got on the same page. Last season, in 9 starts, 14 total games, he put up 50 receptions on 752 yards and 6 TDs. I see him only going up from there.
Yeah, Todd Bowles did not utilize him properly. I think, again, the rapport that you mentioned with Darnold, we saw that towards the end of the year. But it's interesting. I trust Gase within reason, right? And when he says that he's going to look for ways to get Robbie Anderson the ball, I absolutely believe that. I think that he's probably you guys went off on like Le'Veon Bell, and then you guys also talked about just how great Sam Darnold is. Robbie Anderson might be one of the best players on the team, and you feed your best player on the team. So I'm absolutely thinking and echoing your sentiments there about what his production can be. Again, tall, the Temple product is a stud.
Now, you guys are both very, you have a sleeper on the same sleeper. Tell me about him, Ryan.
Yeah, my sleeper is Jamison Crowder. He was let go from that prison for receivers that is the Washington Redskins.
God, preach.
So, Crowder had some pretty nice seasons earlier in his career. Last year wasn't great, but I'm expecting a little bit of a bounce back in New York this year. I could see him kind of becoming a little bit of a safety blanket for Sam Darnold. He's a solid, savvy, veteran, slot receiver. and those guys are invaluable for a young quarterback especially. And I could see Crowder performing somewhere between his 2016 and 2017 numbers, which would put him right in the range of around 800 yards and 5-ish touchdowns, which isn't great, but it's solid. That's flex territory, maybe receiver 3. But yeah, Jamison Crowder is definitely a player to keep an eye on. He's definitely worth rostering at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, he's a huge weapon, right? Yeah. So I would absolutely watch just to have that opportunity from the slot. I know that kind of you want in Quincy Enunwa as kind of a PPR monster, but there's, a reason why the Jets looked at Jamison Crowder and brought him in, and he's absolutely valuable in this offense. Looking kind of at what kind of stock that you think you need to, I believe that you could probably get him cheap. I think name recognition alone might drive up that price a little bit, but the time is now before they start getting into training camps and he starts proving his worth and Darnold starts pitching those really, really short routes and testing his speed. So I would say get him now if you can.
Absolutely. Two deeper guys, Deontay Burnett and Greg Dortch, are guys to keep an eye on. Greg Dortch is like a tiny Hollywood Brown, which is pretty tiny, but he's electric with the ball in his hands, very quick. And Deontay Burnett had some rhythm with Sam Darnold. They're both from USC, along with Chuma Edoga, the guy who they also drafted this year. So they're building sort of a USC East on the Jets. But keep an eye on Deontay Burnett. He started to show up a little bit towards the end of the year. Tight ends. Anybody we're looking at the tight end room?
Yeah, I like
Chris Herndon.
I like Chris Herndon too. He had a really good rookie season, and he can only go up from here, right?
He broke out in a sense, I guess. When you look at 39 catches for 502 yards and 4 touchdowns, yes, he is rising. His stock is rising. In the tight end landscape, there are, again, we've talked ad nauseum about those tiers. He is definitely someone to take a look at, and I would definitely take a risk on.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that as a Jets fan you kind of have a little more insight into is how bad the tight end room has been for the Jets for years. It's been pretty horrendous. We have not been able to get anybody in that position who performed. So seeing Chris Herndon step up and perform last year was great. We had drafted Lazy Leggett the year before, who, did not perform at all. And we cut him after his sophomore year with the Jets. But so besides Chris Herndon, we actually added Trevon Wesco, who is getting some definite love. By Matt Waldman loves him, compared him to like a baby Gronk, which I like to hear, but I don't know how true it is. But it would be nice to have the ability to run a 2 tight end set with, a great blocker like Trevon Wesco and Chris Herndon lined up.
Probably more of a believer for me in Herndon, and if you're a believer in the rising stock and playing better late in the season, 70% of his receptions were in the second half. So hopefully he picks up where he left off.
Yeah, in the first half of last season, they were passing a lot to different tight ends. They had like Neil Sterling, Eric Tomlinson. I'm not sure if Clive Walford was still on the team last year, but they had a weird collection of tight ends who they were passing to. But enough about the Jets. I can talk about them for hours. Can you give us a recap?
Yes. My rising star is Sam Darnold. Fading is Bilal Powell, but that's weak. This is a young team.
Blah pow!
They're trending upward, and my sleeper.
Sorry, it's in my contract that I have to say that every time.
And my sleeper is Jamison Crowder.
All right, my rising star is Sam Darnold. I'm pouring one out for Quincy Enunwa, and Robbie Anderson is my sleeper.
I've got the cop-out trifecta with Le'Veon Bell is rising, Ty Montgomery is fading, and Jamison Crowder is my sleeper. So that's going to do it for our division previews. If you're listening to this one, you can check out our Twitter feed at Rider Dynasty for all of the other division previews. I'm going to send us out. Thank you so much for listening. You all have a great night.
Catch you on the next one.
Boat drinks.
Thank you for listening to the Ride or Dynasty podcast. If you have enjoyed the pod, please subscribe and leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Follow the guys on Twitter at Ride or Dynasty. You can follow JJ at JJ Wenner. Ryan is at BixPixFFB. And Michael is at Michael S. Kloss. Check out our website, rideordynasty.com. And remember, we have your back.
Your reputation far exceeds your skills, Mammy Rammer.